Okay, we are back, and let's go ahead and do what I'm dreading here. Let's start this thing up. So let's put ourselves into simulation mode. And I'm not going to give this thing a super rigorous test. So mind you, when you download my program, you might very well go through and say, hey Paul, you know what? I found a problem. It does this, it does that. That's okay. I'm sure I'm probably going to leave a couple of things in here. But what I'm really trying to do right now is just make sure that it basically does what I want it to do. And could I keep refining it and make it more robust and, handle every single possibility that could occur? Yes, I could. But I think it's probably going to be enough of a process just getting it basically working. And, that way I'm not just dragging this thing out forever, at which point it's really not benefiting you and teaching you how to program. Once you get to the point that you know how to make it do what you want it to do, you're ready to move on. So, sitting here and just going through and debugging it forever and refining it, that's just going to result in paralysis. You're not going to get anywhere. So let's just jump in and get this thing good enough, just basically working. So we're going online. We compiled. That's good. And let's go ahead and put this thing into run mode. And right now, of course, we should be in mode 0, which we are. We can see that right here. And now we can go ahead and hit our start button, and that should push us right through initialization mode very quickly and get us up into actually trying to start up. So let's come back in here and take a look at our mode control. Sure enough, we're offline. And I think initialization is going to happen real quick, and we're just going to jump right straight up to start. You're not even going to see that happen. So let's try that. Let's go ahead and toggle our start button. And that's going to be a Control F7 for that. All right, we made it true, came back out, and you know what? Our mode didn't change. So why is that? Let's go ahead and check in here and see what's going on. So go to mode control, go to offline, and we can see that whenever we hit system start, we should be energizing init signal. So it looks like that might be looking at a different system start PB than the one that I've declared. Let's come back over here into our main program. And sure enough, that is called system start PB. And let's also check inside of our global variables. And we've got our system stop PB down here. And there is our system start PB, and it's showing as false. So it looks like I've got that locally declared also, perhaps. If I try and set that here, let's see what happens. So when I set that, come back in here, actually I can do it from right here. I can check and see our mode. And our mode is now set to 1. So our system start PB works fine from here if I control it from here. It's just not doing the trick whenever I set it from inside of our PLC program. So let's try this. I'm going to stop and go offline and come back into here. And let's just take this big list of junk that we created and select all that, because that's not really anything anyway. Let's just get rid of every bit of that so that things don't get confused. Let's rebuild. Go back online and go back into run, and then let's go ahead and check and make sure that we're doing what we want to be doing. So if I look at mode control, I can see that we're offline, and if I go back into my global variables, this isn't nearly as exciting to look at, but this actually kind of shows us everything that we need, right? So let's double click that and go ahead and send it a true, and then we'll de-energize that. Now we can see that we're in mode 1. Okay, that's good. So now we're working. let's get back over here into our mode control. And on mode 1, whenever we entered, we set our mode, so we know we've done that. And then what else? We've gone through here and we've initialized everything. But you know what we didn't do? We never put in a transition at the end, and that's what we need. That's why we're not going anywhere. So let's jump out of here and see, once we get to the end of that, we actually need to send a start signal. So I'm going to jump back in here, come all the way down to the end, and I'm going to add one more network after. And let's scroll down here so we can see it. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to assign true, and we're going to assign that to this value right here. That's going to be our start signal. So we're going to go ahead and tell that it's true. And actually, we're setting 0 on all the rest of these bools. It seems to like that, although usually it seems to insist that it wants us to say false. But if it's working and it's not broken, I'm not going to try to fix it right now. So let's try going back one more time. We're now running. Let's go into our global variables. We can see that we're in mode 0. Let's put this thing back into run mode one more time. And there, now we initialized everything and we jumped straight up to mode 2. So now we're in startup mode. And let's look at our mode 2 count. I know that's somewhere here in this list. And there we go. We can see that we hit mode 2 one time. And I'm going to test that counter just to make sure that it works while I'm here. So let's go ahead and hit the system stop button. And now we're back into mode 0. So we've also checked that transition works. And now when we come back, we should have shot right up to mode 2, which we did, and our mode 2 count is now 2. Perfect. And I believe we've also got a way to reset that count. I put a switch in there, but actually I don't have that mapped into globals yet, so I will go ahead and test that the next time I have to stop something. For now, let's go back into our mode, and let's make sure that we're going to be doing what we need to do. So we're in startup, and we are waiting for some things to happen. We're waiting for our temperature to go up. We're waiting for our level to go up. And right now, none of that's happening. So what have we got? Our level is 0, and our temperature is also 0. So that tells us that our simulation might not be working. And what about our devices? Our mixer is off, which it should be. Our valve is actually trying to close. So let's check our device control and see what's happening here. And let's see, actually that's not showing us the devices themselves, that's just showing us the triggers and the kill switches. So let's come back in here to global variables and let's see what we've got turned on and what we've got turned off. Our mixer is off because our temperature is low. Our heater is on, and we want our temperature to be going up. Our valve is closed, that's good, and our pump is on because we're trying to fill the tank. Okay, so it looks like our process is doing what it's supposed to be doing, but it seems like our simulation isn't working, and actually I can tell you why. We don't have our drain rate, fill rate, drop heat, and heat up values set yet. So we need to tune these and figure out what those values need to be. And honestly, I'm not sure off the top of my head. So let's just go ahead and try a 50 in there. And when we do, if we look at our temperature, we would expect to see that start climbing once I send this value in. So let's go ahead and do that now. And I got that 50 into heat up, and I'm not seeing that move. So it looks like we might have a problem with that. Let's also check our fill rate, and I'm going to put a value in there. I'm just going to start it off with a 50. And checking our level in, I don't see that changing either. Actually, I haven't sent this yet, so Let's send it. Okay, now I see our level in actually did change some, and we bumped up a little tiny bit of level, so that actually did something. And I'm going to put a drain rate in here of, I'm just going to put a 20, and let's put a drop heat in there also of 20. So let's go ahead and send those values, and there we go. So now let's see where we're at on our process. We've got our temperature in at 0, so that's not being managed correctly. Our level in is up to 50, but that's not being managed correctly either. So when we get to our simulation routine, we're going to have some work to do. So let's jump in there now and go to simulation, and let's see what we're doing and why it's not working. Well, one thing it looks like is our refresh trigger is actually working, even if it is badly misspelled. Let's go and see where the actual refresh happens. And I think we need to scroll up a bit because we're not seeing the most important parts of our program. Okay, so that's called refresh. Well, we're going to fix that because I hate misspellings more than anything. And so let's go ahead and stop and take ourselves offline. And I've got to get rid of that refresh. That is refresh, not refresh. I hate refresh. I hate misspellings. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and paste the proper spelling into both of these, and that's the only place that's used. So we're getting to here, and we're saying if the temperature is still greater than 70, then the possibility exists that we can drop. So in that case, we're going to go ahead and drop down here. Otherwise, we're going to go straight to checking level. And we should make sure we check level anyway. And after drop temp, we're going to drop the temp, then we're going to go straight into our heater. And so it looks like that logic is right so far. So if the heater's on, then we want to go to raise heat. And if it's not, we want to jump to pump check. So then we will come down here to pump check one way or the other. And if the pump is running, then we're going to go to a reduce heat. Otherwise, we're going to jump to level check. And then if we come to reduce heat, we're going to run into level check anyway. And after level check, okay, I think we're looking good from that point. So let's go ahead and try this one more time. Put her online, come back into our global variables so we can see our controls, and let's run this thing once more. We're in mode 2, and there we go. We can start to see some action. Our level in popped up a little bit, and our temperature in actually dropped down, and that wasn't supposed to happen. So this is running a little long. Let's go ahead and break here, and we will come back, and I will be looking at the exact same screen that you see me looking at now, and we will continue to stare at this thing until it starts to make sense. So I'll see you in the next.